historically chilly Cuyahoga County Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee. Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Greenspan. Mr. Greenspan is absent at the moment. Mr. Germana.
Here.
Mr. Harrison.
Here.
Ms. Conwell. Ms. Conwell is absent. There is a quorum.
Okay, is there public comment related to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
In your packet, we have the meeting minutes of October 21st. If they're in order, I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you. 0073, we're not ready with that, and I know Norberto's out today. I see Cleveland is here. Do you want to read this, please?
Resolution number 2014-0073, a resolution authorizing a revenue-generating underlying agreement with City of Cleveland and the minimum amount of $2,365,658.95 per annum for operation of jail services for city prisoners, effective 6/1/2014, authorizing a lease in connection with said agreement in the amount not to exceed $1 per annum for use of the City Central Prison Unit located at 1300 Ontario Street, 6th floor, Cleveland, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Law Department, do you have any update for us?
Mr. Chairperson, I do not.
Thank you. Cleveland, did you have any update for us?
Mr. Chairman, Martin Plask, City of Cleveland. We're anxiously awaiting some kind of a resolution to this issue. As you know, Cleveland City Council passed legislative authority for the Director of Public Safety to enter into an agreement with the Cuyahoga County to transfer all jail duties and responsibilities to Cuyahoga County. That was overwhelmingly supported by council and the administration of the City of Cleveland. The draft underlying agreement that we've prepared with Cuyahoga County was actually completed in November of 2012. Now, I know this has been before your committee a number of times, it's been before the full council, but we're just, we're anxious to resolve it and provide whatever support, information, or documentation this council may need to be successful. But we would like to proceed at some point as expeditious as we can.
Yeah, Mr. Colon, I spoke with him yesterday about this, and I'm sorry he's not here today, he's sick. We did send it back for some concerns that we had, which we thought were minor and minimal changes, actually. And I think it came back, but we're not really sure where it's at and what status we have, because this committee certainly wants to move it on, but until we get assurances from the administration and our legal team that everything is ready to go, we're going to hold on to it. So either we'll get it out at the next meeting, which I'm anticipating to be our last meeting of the year, or it'll wait till January with the new administration. That's the other thing I want to make sure that I update the new administration as to what this is all about and what the committee has gone through. So I want to be as thorough and as fair as possible to everybody, specifically the taxpayers of Cuyahoga County who are going to be taking on this great burden, with the knowledge that we're going to be helping out a major player in the city of Cleveland. So when that comes back here from the administration, which it hasn't, with assurances to this committee and this council, which it hasn't, we will move it on immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one comment. There are risks associated with all agreements like this, and certainly the City of Cleveland faces some significant risk for this agreement as well. And primarily during the transition period, that 270-day window, the City of Cleveland will incur double charges. Of course, operating and maintaining its own jail staff and personnel. At the same time, those prisoners that are transferred to Cuyahoga County, if approved by Cuyahoga County, will be paying a per diem rate for those prisoners as well. So during this transition period, of course, that we do have some financial impact on the operating budget of the City of Cleveland. But more importantly, I think in terms of risk, 2 years from now, if the county sheriff decides that he no longer wants to participate in this agreement, would force the City of Cleveland to start at ground zero, build an infrastructure, a jail staff, in a jail operation to replace one that we entrusted to the county sheriff. So there are risks. There are risks associated on both sides. But the dollar amount that has been proposed in the underlying agreement, $84.68, that was not a number that the city of Cleveland provided. That was a number that, through analysis by the Cuyahoga County, that was the number that was proposed by the county to the city of Cleveland. We thought it was reasonable, and that's why we signed off on it. And that's what we went to Cleveland City Council with and got legislative authority to enter into this agreement. Now, if county council, through the process, legislative fiduciary responsibility that you do have, you change the terms of agreement, and specifically the financial impact, I'm going to probably have to go back before Cleveland City Council and argue the same thing over again. So, you know, it's a process, and I realize it's something that's important to both the county and the city of Cleveland. But one last comment. You know, Cuyahoga County is, in my mind and my understanding, the only county, or at least the only large county in Ohio, where the county sheriff takes a back seat to countywide jail operations. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to Sheriff Bova or his predecessor, but that's the system that they inherited. But they are working towards having a more comprehensive jail management system here in Cuyahoga County, one that's supported by the judges of Cleveland Municipal Court and the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor. I realize there's more needs to be done. We'll get these updates from Norberto Colon at some point here in the near future. We'll see what the impact is in the financial budget of the city of Cleveland, and we'll have to make a decision on how to proceed.
Right. Well, and again, believe me, I'm very well aware of this cost savings to Cleveland, and I'm aware of the danger on our side. There's no danger on your side, trust me.
Well, again,
the only-
I can't, through the chairman, with all due respect, I can't project 2 years from now what the sheriff may or may not do, or whoever may be sheriff, and decide it's not in the best interest, and leave us and eliminate the agreement, or void the agreement, would force the city of Cleveland to recreate from ground zero a new jail operation for the city of Cleveland. We are taking more than 100 of our employees and putting them on the street. Now, the sheriff has made a commitment to hire some of those employees, but again, I don't know what's going to happen after January 1st. So a commitment, a verbal commitment that was made today may not be honored by a successor. So it's a concern for all of us, and I think we all share some risk. But don't underestimate the risk that is facing the city of Cleveland, because certainly there are significant risks to the city as well.
Believe me, I appreciate that, but, you know, being a new government, we've been sitting here for 4 years waiting for this. We've been waiting for it because we want to help you out.
Well, I
We wanna
appreciate it,
help the
Mr.
city
Chairman,
out.
but one last comment. This is the 16th or 17th time this has been scheduled before this committee.
Right, we do
I
thorough
understand. No,
work.
I realize your due diligence, but again, this is a 16th or 17th time.
And if it takes 16 or 17 more, I will have those meetings. But what we requested when we sent that back through the administration, now keep in mind, that's not us doing it. It's like, this is what we would like to see. And what we're asking for are assurances going forward. We don't want to make any money on you. We don't want to lose any money. And bear witness by the Euclid jail that we just walked into way too quickly after we were told of dollar numbers, and none of it came true. And we had to eat $600,000 like that. I don't know what your city council would say about having a $600,000 surprise. I can only assume they wouldn't be happy. And we walked into that, that's on us. It's not happening again. And Euclid pales in comparison, size-wise, with Cleveland and the function of that. I can't speak for the sheriff, but I think we're all people here of goodwill, and I don't see anybody pulling rugs out from anybody else, which is why we want to be careful going forward. And what this council committee has asked is very simply, we just don't want to have any surprises down the road where we have to eat it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, to the members of the committee, that's your responsibility, and I respect that.
And
You have a duty to do that.
And finally, I'll tell you, that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We sent this back to the administration. And when we sent it back, we were told, and your side was very antsy to get this done, that they needed it done within 10 days. We were going to call another meeting. I said, I will call the meeting in 10 days to get this done. That's been almost 3 months ago. Now, that's not this council. That went back to the administration. And where it went from there, I honestly can't tell you. We asked questions. Where's it at? When's it coming? Which is why I kept putting it on here to in some way be ready if it were to show up. It has not. So I'm more on your side than you know, I'll tell you.
Mr. Chairman, from my perspective, and from the city of Cleveland, I think I can speak on behalf of the administration. If there's anything that the county council needs from the city of Cleveland to further this review, we'll provide it.
I'll tell you what, and hopefully we can get this done within the next period of time before the next meeting, which would be 2 weeks. The only caveat is that with the new executive team coming in, I want to make sure that they're up to speed and they're okay with what we're doing, because they're going to be assuming this as they come in. And I don't want them to feel as though there's been surprises. A lot of work's been done on this on your side and on our side, more so on your side. We just want to be ready. I want them to be updated, and we want to move this off. I don't want this on my docket anymore. And we want to be able to at least show the city of Cleveland that we're cooperative and a partner moving forward.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I realize that Cleveland, the city of Cleveland will be a benefactor in many ways, but also a partner. But this is good government for Cuyahoga County, I believe, in terms of
Absolutely.
jail prisoners, management of the jail population, and cooperation with our respective courts. So this is just one step in that overall process that, you can support it or not. But in terms of a government and the sheriff's responsibilities to the prisoner population in Cuyahoga County, I think that the sheriff does specifically have a bigger role than he currently does have.
Right.
And this is just one step to achieving that. I think what's in the best interest of everyone.
And it's not lost on me or the members of the committee here that this is just one in a number of steps to come, making it judicially beneficiary to everybody on both sides, not just Cleveland and the county, but those that occupy those spaces in the jail, and possibly moving them forward and getting them a verdict or a decision as to what they're going to be doing in the future. So we understand this. I just want to be careful because, once again, with Euclid, once bit, twice shy.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And again, I just reaffirm that if there's anything I can do personally or organizationally or through the administration of the city of Cleveland to further this process, I'd be happy to do so.
That's right. Mr.
Thank you.
Germana, I think he has a question.
Well, just a comment, Mr. Chairman. We want this to be mutually beneficial. And, I don't know exactly what wording we need, but we don't want to hurt Cleveland. We want this to be an example of how we could deal with sharing services and making economic sense for different municipalities in the county. And, we want to set the standard of how things should be run. So we definitely don't want, we're not a conglomerate that's trying to take on these extra services. We're doing it so that we can have shared services that are mutually beneficial. And going down the line to the rest of these communities on what's going to be happening in the future. We don't want cities to think that, we're out there to harm them. We just want to make ourselves whole, and we would like the cities also to be made whole. So it's got to be mutually beneficial, and that's really what all we're concerned about.
Well, thank you. Through the chairman of the councilman, thank you. And again, whatever way I can support this process, I'd be honored to do so.
Mr. Greenspan? Yeah.
Sure, thank you. And I apologize for being late, but and Mr. Flask, I apologize if you answered this question, but has the city been presented with anything from the county regarding the proposed changes that we're recommending?
Through the chair of the councilman, no, sir.
Okay, and there lies part of the issue of why it's 16 to 17 times, because I know we were in these chambers when we asked that, but it was early on, probably September, when we had recommended that these changes be brought back to the city. So in fairness to the chair, as he said, he purposely put this on the agenda to serve as an enticement to the administration to move this along. But he did not have to do that. And candidly, well, I know he will continue to do so to encourage it, but didn't have to. And so the 16 or 17 times have probably been reduced to maybe 8 or 7 based on actual productivity. It's been on there waiting for an update. We've had no update. And I apologize to you in the city of Cleveland that you have not been presented with these changes that we clearly brought forward 2, 3, 4 months ago. So we're in the same position you're in. We made recommendations. You're waiting to hear from us. We're waiting to hear back from you, and yet you have not been presented with any of the changes. In comment, not to repeat Mr. Germana, but he's correct. We need to make sure that this relationship is mutually beneficial and that we do not lose money. And that's all we're asking in this amendment. The risk that you're discussing insofar as Cleveland's risk, should at a future date the county decide to terminate the relationship, that's not a subject that's in the discussions we've had insofar as amending the agreement. That unfortunately is a risk both of us bear, because one of the sheriff's main concerns has to do with the fact that you average about 300 prisoners a day, but if your judges start increasing that, increasing or decreasing that number, that has an impact on us directly. So there's risk on both sides.
Through the chair, just a point of clarification. When we started down this path several years ago, the average daily prisoner population was about 300 per day. But as a result of some policy changes that were implemented by the judges of Cleveland Municipal Court, that we were required to charge a release within 36 hours, our average jail population now is 243 prisoners.
Okay.
So it's been significantly reduced, and it's a result of things that we can do internally. We've closed all our police district jails. We've centralized all booking, processing, fingerprinting at the police headquarters building. So the jails in the 1st District, the 2nd District, the old 3rd District, 4th, and 5th, they're all been closed. They've all been deactivated. We've centralized everything that we possibly can at the police headquarters building, at the Justice Center, and our judges have, through a decision on their part, have capped a number of individuals that are actually sentenced to terms of incarceration. So on a daily basis, as of this year, for 2014, the average prisoner count is 243 inmates per day. That includes all fresh arrests, plus those people being held for bond, and those people who have been sentenced by the judges of municipal court.
And if I recall, one of the $85 a day roughly that has been discussed in the agreement, because these negotiations have gone on so long, that number is no longer representative of our true cost.
Well,
I know you may.
I can't speak to that because, again, those are the numbers that were provided by the county administration to us as being a fair amount to process. Because we know that through jail agreements that some of the prisoners that are in the county's custody, may be in the county's custody at the request of the city of Cleveland, may be only being charged $55 a day. So again, that $84 a day averaged out to a fair approximation of what we believed was a true number that was provided by Cuyahoga County. Take into consideration that, for example, I'm not sure the exact cost for the prisoners being confined at the city of Euclid's jail, but I think it's around $55, which is far less than what we're intent on paying. So again, just to keep things in perspective, $84.68 per day seemed reasonable considering that some prisoners were being confined for $55 a day.
Well, and that's maybe. We don't know that because we don't know if any of the Cleveland folks would go down to the Euclid jail or not. Look, just to cut it right to the chase, and if you haven't heard the two complaints this council's had, number one, we don't want to lose any money. We don't want to make any money, but we're not going to lose money. And number two, there was an issue with the juveniles. And so those are the two components of whatever agreement or amendments are being sent back to Cleveland. I'm candidly shocked and embarrassed on behalf of the administration that they haven't already communicated this to you, since we've been talking about this for months and it's been on our agenda, hoping that you would come back, you being Cleveland, with an appropriate response. And it looks like we're probably, based on the administrative changeover that's about to take place in the county, probably into January, because the new administration has no authority to they can provide insight, but they cannot provide definitive action until January on this agreement. And to the chair's point, he's correct. we are so close to the end of the year and so close to a transition administration. Whatever this body does is going to directly impact how that new administration operates. And in fairness to Mr. Budish, we would want him to have an opportunity to provide some insight and some guidance as to how he wants to, over the next 4 years, manage this process. So the opportunity, the window has closed, in my opinion, due to the lack of speediness in which this current administration chose not to deal with the issue. And I think you're probably, in my opinion, looking at January from a realistic perspective of having this at least addressed back in this committee.
Well, through the chair, the councilman, I appreciate your candor. I don't want to belabor and use up your time, but I think there's a misconception about juvenile offenders. The city of Cleveland currently, and I think historically over the last 2 years, about 3 per day. Those number of juveniles that would require incarceration averages about 3 per day. That's over 24 hours, 3. So this is not an insurmountable task that needs a whole lot of work to resolve. But through the chair, I appreciate your time.
Are you done, Mr. Greenspan?
Yeah, thank you.
And I have, Mr. Harrison has a question.
Just really quick, Mr. Chair, I agree with my colleagues in their comments about the delay and the information. I see Ken Mills and Jim Boyle is here. Can you, either one of you, provide some insight of why this has not been sent over to Cleveland? If it has, what's the cause and delay?
Yeah, I cannot, and I'm, perhaps you can, Mr. Mills, I cannot.
I don't, actually, Mr. Harrison, I think what Mr. Flash just told me is a surprise to me that I have been told that this went to Cleveland and that Cleveland was in some way working with Mr. Cologne and the administration. And now I'm being told that's not happening. So here we are again. The ship hit the same rock. Do you have something that you may be able to share with us?
I feel a sense of obligation we were advised by the county administration that changes needed to be made. So we were aware that changes would be forthcoming. But Mr. Chairman, to the members of the committee, we have not seen those changes.
That's interesting that you would say that, because the changes that we were talking about, which again, I don't think are drastic and I think are reasonable considering the scope of what we're talking about as far as the service. I think anybody would think it would be reasonable from both sides. And I've been told that there were negotiations and that Cleveland had stated in some way that they could not agree to a portion of what we, as the council committee, requested. And now it sounds like, unless they're talking directly to the mayor or someone else there, I didn't get a name, I just heard the word Cleveland. Is there something that you could share with us?
Good afternoon, council members. Donna Cleo, Sheriff's Fiscal Manager. To some extent, some of this may be, I'll take some of the blame for this. I was asked by county council, by the sheriff, and by Norberto Colon to review the original budget that was submitted back in 2011. I mean, that budget was 3 years old. I was asked to review it and to just give my thoughts and maybe even make changes or whatever. After extensive meetings with jail personnel, and that's why this has taken me so long. I don't know a lot about jail operations, and I've had extensive meetings with jail personnel, with law enforcement, with sheriff operations and administration. To be honest with you, I have come up with what I don't even think the original budget that is 3 years old makes sense. This now, what I'm presenting to you, to me, is just a recommendation. This is my recommendation from all the review I've done. I don't think it makes sense in terms of the $85 per inmate per day, and I'll get deeper into that, and I got handouts for you. But I don't even know originally where they got the number of 25 COs. That's what the number of 25 COs started back in 2011.
I'll tell you what, can I interrupt you right now?
Sure.
Because now I'm getting mad. Mr. Flask, are you available Friday? Sheriff's out of town, right?
Correct, he'll be back Friday.
He'll be back Friday. Are you available Friday? No, sir. Are you available Thursday? Saturday? How about next Monday? You available next Monday? I'll make myself available. Because it seems when we get everybody in the room, things work out. Is everybody available Monday? You're gone. Anthony, are you available Monday? I'm thinking 9 o'clock.
Is it a committee meeting or just a?
No, or we could do it at 10. Would 10 be better?
Yeah, if you're doing it as a work session, that's one thing, but you can't vote if you're going to call in.
We're not voting on anything.
All right, that's fine.
Which is frustrating to not only us, but obviously Cleveland. Monday, you got availability?
You know, this is important.
Let's tentatively schedule, and Mr. Flask, I'll talk with you later today about this. I'll try and get a time locked down for Monday. So if you could tell the sheriff to be available, if I could have our law department available, who's ever working on this, I'll have Mr. Cologne there or his assistant. It just, this seems like we're chasing our tail. And I'm starting to hear things that I haven't really been told. I mean, as of this week, I was told that they wanted to move forward from the administration side today on this. Today. So,
And that is, if that's something you want to do, I'm just telling you, and this was, Councilman Greenspan wanted some transition numbers. I think the budget should stay around 9 million. I just think through all of my research, the guaranteed amount should be much higher than the 2 million. That's because the staffing is going to be much higher than originally proposed.
I'll tell you what, let's, and I really would like Mr. Greenspan here. And let me get everybody to have an opportunity to clear the air with Cleveland. We'll have a meeting in 2 weeks, and I'll want everybody here. And within that period of time, Mr. Flask, if you're going to meet with anybody, I would appreciate it if, and I hate to ask you to do this, but evidently I have to ask you to do this because we're not getting it from the other end here, is let us know when you're having a meeting with anybody from the county about this, and we'll try and make ourselves available, or at least have a representative available. This is really embarrassing.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Mr. Germano.
You know, I think what's important is, and if we took this this idea in consideration, maybe it would be easier for the city of Cleveland and this council in Cuyahoga County to agree. Maybe we shouldn't have the dollar, it shouldn't be the dollar amount, but it should be the formula that makes up that. Because as things change, as long as that formula is right, we don't want to hurt Cleveland, we don't want to hurt ourselves. It should be the formula that we agree on what that number is, and we should mutually agree on how often that number gets reviewed.
And that's exactly what I've done. I've gotten off the $85 per inmate per day. I'm more at, I have 3 costs for inmates, a fixed, a variable, a marginal. I'm more at more of a marginal cost to charge Cleveland, and I feel the staffing should be covered. That's the formula. The staffing that we have to bring on board for the Cleveland project should be covered in a guaranteed amount. Then we don't charge them the $85 per inmate per day. We go to what the marginal cost is. So that's my formula, which I feel is a win-win for the county and for Cleveland. I'm trying to do this in a manner that's a good situation for both the county and for the city of Cleveland. So that's my formula, where we're guaranteed our staffing is paid for, and then we don't charge the $85 per inmate per day. We charge them what our marginal cost is when they come into the jail. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yes, Mr.
And,
Chair.
and again, this is just a recommendation because I was asked to review this and
Are you recommending December 2nd at 1 PM? We have a committee of the
2
whole,
weeks?
we have a committee of the whole at 3 o'clock on that day.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's try and get this straightened out by that date. I can't make a promise, Mr. Flass, that this is gonna be taken care of by that period, within that 2-week window. I don't see why it couldn't, but then we have the problem of you probably having to go back to your city council to reapprove the updated agreement, indeed, if that's what we end up doing, which I would assume we're gonna end up doing. So hopefully within that, from now till the Tuesday after next, we have that period of time where, and I'll speak with Mr. Cologne, that in some way they bring Cleveland in here and bring them up to speed as to where we're at. The concerns that the committee had were reasonable. And really, as far as changes, I thought minimal. And now I'm being told that unless Mr. Flass, somebody in Cleveland's been negotiating with the administration, and I'd find that hard to believe without your knowledge.
Mr. Councilperson, though the overall changes are minimal, it's the
Well, you're talking,
Guarantee.
you're talking,
it's the guaranteed amount
you're talking an overhaul, really, of what
for the,
we're
for the most, yes, sir. Yes, sir. But it's the guaranteed, but the overall budget is pretty much the same as what it was, close to 9 million, especially if their ADP is now 243, because I did it on 300. So if their ADP is 243, it's probably going to be right there at 9 million overall. It's the guaranteed amount that's to Cuyahoga County that is changing.
Let's keep that, in 2 weeks, we'll have the meeting, but what I will do is Monday, we'll have a meeting in if I have to post it, I'll post it tomorrow, Friday. And we can conference you in. Cleveland's more than welcome to come to our upstairs on the 8th floor. We have a conference room. I'll have Mr. Cologne there. I'll have legal department there. I'll have other representatives of the administration if need be, and whatever council members wish to attend. We're just not getting information back from the other side of the 8th floor on this. And it's embarrassing, quite honestly. Did Law have something to say?
Well, I only wanted to address that without Mr. Cologne here, I can't give specifics as to what conversations have taken place.
Right.
But my conversations with Mr. Cologne have been that we've reviewed the changes that were sent to Cleveland. My understanding was they were sent to Cleveland and were being discussed. So, but I can't give specifics because Mr. Cologne is not here.
And what I was told that Cleveland was okay, but they couldn't, the way in which we wanted to be made whole couldn't be done. And then our legal researcher said it could be done. Now we're looking at a new formula, but a bottom line of the same amount of money.
Yes, sir.
And maybe that'll be beneficial. Maybe that would take care of our concerns on the made whole side.
Yes, sir.
And if that's the case, and everybody's in agreement, and the new administration checks off on it, maybe we can move it in 2 weeks. But I'll meet you Monday morning. If you have the sheriff there, I'll give you the time. It's either gonna be 9 or 10 o'clock. And we'll try and figure out where the county goes from here. And Mr. Flask, you're more than welcome to be at that meeting with anyone that you wish to bring. I'm just trying to get this thing aired out. And I apologize from the county side to have held this up this long with the communication that evidently has not existed. But I'll give Mr. Cologne the opportunity to tell his side of it. He seemed to be very clear to me anyhow that this was not a problem and that they really wanted to go today.
Mr. Chair, as an additional attendee, I'd maybe suggest that a representative from County-elect Budish this transition
That's
team
what,
to be
that's what I
present.
said, the new administration coming in. So Monday morning, 9 or 10 o'clock, I'll get a hold of everybody, let you know what time that is. I'll post it because I assume we'll have more than our share of council people available and want to be okay with the law there. If that's okay. Mr. Flask, is that all right with you? That, I'll see you Monday at 9 or 10, and I'll let you know. Donna, did you want to update us on Euclid, or are you burned out?
Do you have what specific questions, or?
I had heard that you might wanted to say something about Euclid.
Oh, no, Euclid, actually, I'm pleased that we're at full capacity right now at Euclid, with about 44 county inmates there. I'm watching prisoner boarding care in September and October really got high. I mean, we were at 98 inmates in prisoner boarding care, the average daily population. I'm watching it in November, it's coming down, and that's because we've pulled some out and we've sent them over to Euclid. So Euclid is finally starting to come to fruition, and it's starting to smooth out. Some of the kinks are smoothing out, and as you said yesterday, it was a rocky start, but yeah, it's starting to. I mean, we took a loss in the beginning, and there's no coming back from that, I don't think. But it is starting to iron out now.
Right.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Greenspan.
Thank you. Yesterday in committee, we heard, or yesterday, the day before, today's Tuesday, so Monday had to be yesterday, we had heard that through increased ADP, we were able to at least reduce the loss, and that although the jail is scheduled for 60 inmates, that there were numbers in excess of that in the 80s, and as those numbers of prisoner board and care appropriation was coming over, it was able to reduce some of that loss. Is that what you're seeing on the financial side?
No, what I think, and we're not seeing in the 80s yet, my understanding is they are trying to do this is my understanding, they're trying to do, I haven't seen Euclid yet, but some like minor renovations, maybe getting some more bunks out there, things like that, because they think it has the potential for in the 80s. Right now it has the potential for 60, and we're at full capacity. And we're averaging about 44 county inmates there, and then the rest of Euclid City inmates. They said it has the potential for 80, and they're working towards that, but right now we have not hit an 80 ADP out in Euclid.
Yeah, if you saw me just stretch my neck, that's because it just tightened up, because I don't know if we need to start swearing people in at the podium to tell the truth or not, but that's not what we were told yesterday. What we were told yesterday is we were going to make up the deficiency in the budget based on increased population at the Euclid jail. And I wish Mr. Colon was here, because that is exactly what he told us yesterday, and that he does not expect us to have a loss in the Euclid jail this year based on increased inmate population.
By the end of this year?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not putting you in a spot. I'm telling you the testimony we heard.
The last I heard, we had 64 out there, and that's the highest we've had. Now, unless something has happened over the last week that I'm not aware of, but my understanding was the highest we've had in Euclid so far is 64. I will double check that today when I get back to the office, and I'll shoot you out a quick email just to let you know and confirm that, but that's my understanding. If they want to try to get it to the 80s before the end of this year, again, I haven't seen the Euclid jail. I don't know if they can or cannot do that.
Of the 60, what are the Euclid prisoners? What's their?
Yeah, there was 44 county, and then there was Euclid I know fluctuates between 15 and 20, but that was, last I had heard, it was 44 county and 16 of the Euclid prisoners.
And the budget is 18 or 20. What do we give them? What do they get as part of the deal? They get so many beds per month. Or
They're guaranteed an average of 20 beds. Now, and this was something that we really weren't aware of. They're guaranteed this average of 20. However, say they needed 30, they would get 30, because that's the lease reads, and again, this was not our understanding, but the contract reads that the average overall for a year's time is 20. But if they did happen to need 30, then we would have to probably move some county inmates.
And I don't recall we're talking about make whole, make good provisions. If their annual average, I thought it was 20 a day, but if it's 20 over the course of a year, if their average exceeds 20, what are we able to bill them? Do we bill them at 55? Let's say on an annual basis, annually they're at 23, that 3 extra inmate.
Oh, what, you're saying at the end of the year,
Yeah,
if they
yeah.
average, then we would bill them at the $55? Yes, yes. If they go over more than 20 on the annual average, yes.
Okay.
Then that's my understanding how the contract read, we bill them at the $55. And we are, I mean, we just through IMAX, we're tracking that every day. We're tracking that every day. And they have gone over 20 and they've gone under 20, so it's fluctuating back and forth daily.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
See you Monday. Yes, sir.
You know, I'm kind of like I hold the sanitary engineer out and their program with the different municipalities is like the poster child for government cooperation and efficiencies. We've got 35 cities that our sanitary engineer does the sanitary for these different cities. And these are big cities, they're small cities. They've got this formula that is fair. And, you know, this all started before this new county government came in. But since this new county government came in, they've increased the numbers. And so, you know, we're doing it on one side with Public Works and the sanitary engineer. Jails can't be that much more complicated than all the different scopes of work that our sanitary engineer does. I don't know who came up with working out those formulas, but certainly we should get a handle on doing this correctly. And I'll ask Ms. T1 tomorrow in Public Works exactly how they have been able to achieve that.
Should be an interesting Monday. Janine, 0247.
Resolution number 2014-0247, a resolution making an award on RQ 30402 to Oriana House in the amount not to exceed $744,000 for the Cognitive Skills Development Program for the period 7/1/2014 through 6/30/2017, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with said award in this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Who's here to speak? Is there a representative of the Oriana House here?
No, there is not. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Councilman. Marty Murphy for the Corrections Planning Board. We are recommending this award to Oriana over a 3-year period in the amount of $744,000. The annual amount is $248,000 a year, which is the same amount as in the prior 3-year window. This was put out for RFP. Oriana was the only vendor that responded. The only major change in this contract is 25% of the $248,000, or roughly 25%, $62,500 of those dollars are set aside for incentive, and Oriana only receives those dollars once offenders actually achieve successful completion of the program. So they're a more engaged partner in this contract.
Are you aware of issue over at the Common Pleas Court with services from Oriana House?
Not,
Specifically Judge Nancy Russo,
no, sir.
about services not rendered, 2 weeks of services for the REEP program, I believe it is. I'm trying to find her email here, but it seemed that either last week or the week previous, there was a big problem with services that were being provided that were paid for that weren't provided. I asked the judge to be here today, but she had to be in Canton. Just one moment, I think I found it. But with the permission of the committee, is there a necessity that this move forward? Is there a time issue?
The services are being rendered at the present time.
Well, according to Judge Russo, evidently not.
No, for this particular item, Judge Russo's, I'm not familiar. It's probably a reentry related item.
She had a correspondent with Jim Lawrence, the president and CEO. It's the REEP clients. They had not received treatment due to a retirement of somebody from Oriana. I'm just a little uncomfortable moving forward on this without more of an explanation as to the concerns from Judge Russo. Would you have a
We
problem
can
with that?
absolutely hold it, sure.
Can we hold that to the next meeting, and hopefully Judge
Absolutely.
Russo can come in here and whatever concerns and problems that that program through Oriana has had in the past, that they'll have corrected those? Because if we're giving them money to provide treatment, and there were 2 weeks with no treatment, they're certainly gonna have to reimburse us in some fashion. But more importantly, I'd like to hear from the judge and see what happened there. And if Mr. Lawrence, is he the CEO?
He is the CEO.
Could we have him here in 2 weeks?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you could express our concerns
Sure.
regarding Judge Russo's concern, and that we would like an explanation in 2 weeks. Is that okay with the committee?
Sure, makes sense.
So we'll hold that. 0248, thank you.
Resolution number 2014-0248, a resolution authorizing a contract with Court Community Service in the amount not to exceed $555,000 for the Community Work Service Placement and Supervision Program for the period 1/1/2015 through 12/31/2017, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Marty Murphy again for the Corrections Planning Board. This is a 3-year contract. This was a sole source contract. It went out to bid the last time around. Court Community Service was the only vendor. We did investigation this time prior to going sole source, and frankly, there is nobody else in town that has 15 vans, supervisors, snow blowers, leaf blowers, that type of thing, that are able to do the service. The contract amount is $185,000 a year for 3 years. It's 100% paid for by way of probation fees. And again, it is the exact same amount as the contract was in the preceding contract. The only difference is they will be able to earn the money slightly faster. In the last contract, at the present time, they earn $84 per offender referral. In this one, they will receive $86 in the first year, escalating up to $90 in the third, so 86, 88, 90. So they'll be able to bring their funding in faster, but it's still the same amount.
Question? Mr. Greenspan?
No, I'm sorry. Well, just a question. So the funding source that's listed in the resolution is the general fund, but you're saying specifically it's funded, although through the general fund, its true revenue source are probation fees?
It is probation fees.
And do we collect enough probation fees to cover the cost of
Yes, we
these
do.
services? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Germano?
I just want to make a comment congratulating you to getting this contract before it's expired. So congratulations. I don't know how this happened, if this is a fluke or what, but we appreciate the timeliness of it.
There is an answer. It's because it's local dollars and they're already in the bank. We're not waiting till the first of the year to get the check from the state to set up the bank account to get the ball rolling.
Okay. Any questions? So we want to move this to the full council for second reading.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And 0274.
And a question, Mr. Chair, that was for second reading only, for 248.
Yeah.
Resolution number 2014.
We have plenty of time with the January date. Mr. Murphy, you're okay with that? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. I want to make sure.
Resolution number 2014-0274, a resolution making awards on RQ 29884 to various appraisers in the total amount of $911,000 for real estate appraisal services subject to share of sale for the period 8/1/2014 through 7/31/2016, and authorizing the county executive to execute the contracts and all other documents consistent with said awards in this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Who's here to speak for the sheriff?
My staff person who handled this whole RFP, he's out today, not well, so I'll answer any questions that I possibly can.
How do you pick the appraisers?
How do they pick them? My understanding is they apply and they are interviewed, and it's based on their credentials and if they have the right amount of insurance. They have to meet certain criteria. I don't ever do the appraisal interviews, so I'm not sure, but I do know there's a set of criteria they have to meet, and then they go through the whole interview process. Now, they're not paid, they're not a general fund employee. They're paid from the proceeds of the sale.
Questions?
Yeah, thank you. Do you know how many folks applied?
Oh, if I'm not mistaken, boy, back when I put it in the Novus, if I'm not mistaken, there was about 45 maybe.
And if you can't answer the question, that's fine. How was the number 22 determined? Was that predetermined that it was 22 were needed regardless of how many applied, or how did this number come to be?
That's a question I can't answer. I can get you that answer. I can talk to the manager in charge of the civil division who handles these sheriff sales, and I can find out how they determined 22 was the number, but that I don't know.
That would be important to understand
Okay,
the formula, because if it was just half of, it'd be interesting to understand how that number came to be.
I will get you that answer, and I will get it emailed out to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? You comfortable moving it for second reading? So 2014-0247, move that to the full council second reading. All in favor? Against? Miscellaneous business? Any comment?
No, Mr. Chair.
So Janine, next Monday, I'll let you know, 9 or 10 o'clock, and we'll go over the people upstairs in our conference room. And get together with Mr. Greenspan. He'll want to be patched into that. He'll be out of town. Thank you.